friend Kevin O'Leary, and we are in the beautiful Muskokas on Lake Joseph, and we're going for a little boat cruise. Now, Kevin, let's talk about fixed and variable mortgages. I know you have a strong opinion right now, and fixed is definitely where last time you were on the show, you said that people should be doing. Do you still feel that way, that strongly?
More than ever. In fact, I think I've been proven right in the last 2 months. Of course. I mean, I think at this point now, you've got about 1.5% difference between a variable rate and a fixed rate. But we know with certainty, and we've seen it happen already, we've gone from 2.7 on mortgages up to 3.8 now, and that happened in 5 weeks. Flaherty's making moves. We see the federal government deciding what they want to do in terms of the risk the public's going to take on mortgages. The rates are going to go up. So anything being purchased today for anything, a condo, a cottage, a primary residence in a city, has to be fixed rate 5-year. That to me is the best deal, makes the most sense, with the assumption that when the 5th year comes around, you're going to be paying at least another 2% more.
I agree.
And so you have to plan accordingly. There is no question on my mind that we are going to see rates go up here, so variable rate mortgages, do not touch them. They are toxic waste, financial pornography.
Okay, let's talk about the let's talk about the people that already have mortgages and they may have an open variable. So right now they might be getting 0.85 or 0.5 below prime. Now, they have an open option to lock in. Would you say to them right now, lock it in, or ride it for a little bit longer and just pay close attention?
No,
because they're enjoying the benefits of that minus 0.85.
They should have locked in 5 weeks ago. They would have saved themselves about 0.75%. All is not lost. We're still at historic lows here.
That's right.
People have to remember the average for the 10-year Canadian bond was 6.2%. Mortgages floated at 7 and 8% above that.
Right.
So they would be 2% higher. It was very common for parents of people today to pay 8% for a mortgage.
Absolutely.
So if you're paying less than 5 right now, you're very well off. But most of the business that we see at O'Leary Funds and O'Leary Mortgages now are people that are already in a mortgage that want to lock in. They want to find the best rate they can and lock it in for the next 5 years.
Just for their peace of mind, right? For their comfort.
No, because they're being pragmatic, and they're right. They're seeing the world around them. They're seeing rates move. It's all happening, and it's happening quickly, which is what happens when rates go up. And they're saying to themselves, okay, I've got to lock in. What's the best deal? And we're all competing. The banks, O'Leary Mortgages, all kinds of people are in that market. That is the majority of the business today.
And the thing that you also mentioned is how attractive rates are. I mean, they are at historical lows, and that's probably also what's been really helping the cottage industry or the market, where people could say, you know what, I can do a secondary property now because rates are so good. Think about it, 15, 20 years ago when you were buying your, a home, the cost of buying that home because of what the interest rates are compared to today, the savings are massive.
You're right.
Even though prices might be higher.
You're talking a generational trend that we have had for 15 years, the lowest rates in history. That's ending, and we're going through a transition. So if you're lucky enough to be, in your 20s and you're buying your first home, you should be buying it with the assumption that you're going to have to own it for at least 5 years for
capital appreciation.
And you should definitely have a fixed rate mortgage so that you know what your nut is. Half of running a family is treating it like a business and knowing what your costs are every month. People that get in trouble in real estate let themselves float and have someone else in control of their destiny, because a floating rate mortgage is just that, floating rate. You may pay $200 one month and then all of a sudden $1,000 the next based on what happens. You don't know, so you should fix it. And then you can say, okay, I know what my nut is. For 12 months of the year, it's often the most expensive part of their lives is paying their mortgage.
So tell us more about your mortgage company.
So all I do at O'Leary Mortgages is I work with lenders, and I'm an aggregator. So in other words, I'm a giant broker that most people know. It's sort of, the advantage I have is 240 hours of primetime TV, and that's how I got into the mutual fund business. 5 years ago, I said I'm going to put my own money in these funds, and now I have $1 billion there. Because people, they may not like me, but they trust me, and I think that's what matters.
I like you. I actually think you're a really nice guy.
Some people think I'm too tough on Dragon's Den, but the truth is I'm all about financial literacy. I think I'm a pretty good investor. It all sums it up. There was a grandmother that called me on a radio show in Montreal. I always tell this story, and she said, "Is this Kevin O'Leary?" I said, "Yes." "You're a bastard. but I own 3 of your mutual funds because I know you're going to make me money."
That's right.
I'm okay with that, and that's the same philosophy. That's the same philosophy I have with my mutual fund business. But I've been contacted by a lot of brokers because I don't serve them yet.
Right.
And I am going to launch that probably as soon as February. I'm going into a new model where I'm going to expand and offer lending to particularly entrepreneurs.
Fantastic.
So those people that can't qualify for insured mortgages. I'm getting so many calls for those. just inundated with people, to me, are entrepreneurs that do qualify.
That's right.
Some of them just come to this country, they have fantastic credentials, yet they can't get a mortgage.
That's our future.
Yeah, and I want them to come to me because
Beautiful.
I am going to set up a team to work with them and lend them. Now, obviously, those mortgages are more complex in terms of getting them approved, and they require more equity, but that's the market for those.
Yeah.
And so that's the next direction. I'll be launching that in about probably the month of February next year.
What I appreciate is it sounds to me, for you, every client's important. And I think that's the problem right now with our banking system. You know, they really do classify you. And I understand because they've got shareholders and people to report to.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, those entrepreneurs are our future.
You know what I do is I give them a copy of my book, Men, Women, and Money, and I say, before you send me your first monthly payment, read this book. Read it, because mortgages are a huge part of that. I explain how you live with one. The whole idea of a mortgage is you want to get rid of it. You want to pay it off so that you can accrue wealth afterwards.
That's right.
It's your #1 debt.
Kevin, fun as always, and best of luck with O'Leary Mortgages.